For that post,
You got USB on that, right?
and, USB-C. USB-C.
What's this one?
Oh, that's my power.
Okay.
And it's got a HDMI on this side. Nope, all I got is the USB-Cs. They call them some kind of Thunderbolt or something.
Motion detected at the back door. Detected at the back door.
Mhm. 657. No, I'll get over here on this side if you want to get in this side, so that one's not interfere with him if he comes in.
Or is it just a temporary thing?
I'll have. Well, with it.
That's a flash drive. All right, go to your files and documents and all that mess. What are you driving?
On the Explorer.
Yeah.
Roger, that one there?
Yep. Put down Zoom.
New stuff?
What's your logo?
Oh.
Copy.
Yeah, I can see copy, there it is. Yes, but I'm not. Oh, shit.
Click over there since you're on desktop.
Take time. There it is, shit, that's good.
All you do is bring up your Zoom and then put that as the background.
Thanks. Here's Zoom. Look right here, kind of.
You're already on mine.
Well, I mean, in Zoom.
And I've got Zoom already up
How can I connect them?
because I haven't accepted yet.
Oh, that's what it's gotta be.
Admit.
Or.
Recording in progress.
Okay. There we are.
All you gotta do is add the Let's Talk Racing to your background.
You gotta figure out where. That's what I should have brought my earphones.
Now you might want to turn your speaker, your microphone off.
All right. I'll just mute myself.
There. Put that back. Boards, notes. I can't find it.
Go down the bottom
That's where I'm at.
where your video is in the bottom left corner. Click on the up arrow,
There it is.
adjust background and effects.
Choose virtual background.
There you go. And then browse to the location on your desktop where that's at.
I had to do a quick update when I came on
So good.
Zoom and Zoom Workplace. With everything in the workplace. Got Facebook's got workplace thing, which is like Facebook for businesses. We've got it work. I don't pay attention to it.
Still having a hard time with that thing.
Can't find it on my desktop. Choose my virtual background.
Okay. We need to go back in because we need to mirror the background.
Uncheck it. Ah, you got it straight. Once you figure out that one.
I want oranges. Hell with apples. I like pineapples.
Hello, Duane.
Oh, sir.
Can you hear him all right, Duane?
I can.
All right. So we're actually sharing a microphone here, and he's actually in here with us.
I saw that.
Now come to the shop.
See, Sharon's out there waiting. I wonder how long she's been waiting. Probably here.
You just dinged a minute ago. I just text her back. Oh, look at this. It's all fancy here. Look at this.
It looked like she'd be cold.
Collared shirt and everything for crying out loud.
I have been cold.
Oh, I'll bless your heart.
It's not really cold in here, but I'm anemic, so
She's a cold-hearted biatch.
that's right.
Don't you forget it. Hopefully Al's going to join in here
It's
shortly
frozen.
through Zoom.
Oh, is Al going to join us? Absolutely outstanding.
Originally, it was going to be down here, and then he called me just a little bit ago because he's got a article he was finishing up, and he had to submit it, get it read, make sure it's
Right.
okay, and then hopefully he was supposed to have it done by 6:25, but apparently he's going to be running late, so he's probably going to do Zoom from home.
I was doing some cleaning in my house, throw away some stuff, ran across the inserts on paper, the Daily Press in 1996 about NASCAR, a little tabloid section. And I just popped to the first, but I was trying to do some stuff. And
Well, we got a lot to talk about anyway.
So
Are we
you
live?
wrote that. So
Welcome to Let's Talk Racing because we're live 4 minutes
Right.
ago.
Roger always forgets to say that, and then I don't even get to share the link or anything because I'm waiting for him to say it.
Well,
He was helping me.
I was working helping David in house here, trying to get him up with the logo in the background.
Oh,
He's driving me to drink.
well, let me share. And then, boy, we got a lot to talk about. Was not Martinsville more than expected?
All right. How many of you think that he actually did the melon thing.
That move was exactly the same. I don't,
Nope.
No, no.
maybe he didn't do it on purpose, but it was done.
He did it on purpose. You could hear- you
But
could-
here's the thing, and it's put question mark in my brain, and it's reading NASCAR nailing that they had an in-car camera and it showed he had his foot on the floor all the way through it.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe he was just freaking out a little bit. I don't know. Anything can happen. But from the outside, it looked like he didn't do enough to get it off the wall. Let's put it that.
Exactly. They said he accelerated. That was all in there. So, like I said, maybe he didn't do it intentionally, or maybe he didn't know what he was doing. But I mean, it was when they showed the replay, it was the exact same thing that Ross had done.
Well, they showed a good in-car video from Bubba Wallace's car when he pulled in front of him and hit the wall. And you could see it when he hit the wall. He just literally started hauling ass. I mean,
Exactly.
and I
Exactly.
believe, if my memory serves me correctly, you could actually hear the throttle up of the car as it zoomed away from Bubba. I mean,
Yes.
it zoomed.
It's the exact same thing that Ross went through. So
Now,
I was okay with the call on it. I was waiting and waiting to see if NASCAR was going to do anything about it. And of course, the MDR chat was going crazy while we were waiting. So
never turned the lights on. How you doing, Miss Val?
Hey.
Well, the biggest thing with the whole thing was,
Don't be beating on the door out there for 10 minutes.
Albert
Don't have
Pearce.
your number. I killed it accidentally.
We got a guest in the house, but we'll let Roger take care of that.
Well, he was the main man there for a long, long time, and then I snuggled my way in here, and then Al got busy doing other stuff, and I don't have any credentials that he has other than being similar age.
there was a lot of fines issued too over all that radio chatter that was going on.
Oh,
that
my
was-
goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
That was
Well, the latest thing I saw was something that posted just today.
Martinville.
SVG was getting ready to get lapped by Blaney, and Blaney, they told SVG the 12 cars coming, basically trying to get him to run the 12 car as hard as he could. And he said something to the effect of whoever was on the radio to him, it's a message from Chevrolet. That was pretty blatant at that point. Okay. I mean, I can see the guys, because it was an incident, apparently it happened earlier in the race and that kind of stuff. And that happens quite a bit. That happens anywhere from local tracks all the way up to the big stuff, But when he says, the message is from Chevrolet, and he's driving a Chevrolet, and he said understood, he was answered back. So, that was pretty blatant at that point. That's something just came out. So we're going to find more of this stuff. As Dale Jr. said, it's nothing new, or actually it was Harvick on his show saying, the Talladega races, they do this all the time. Been doing it for years.
Yes. And that's part of the reason why people think there is conspiracy theories out there where these people are hanging up against each other. It's making racing not as fun as it used to be in my eyes anyway.
Yep.
So just to bring Al up to speed, we all still talking about Christopher Bell riding the wall, or are we talking about the blocking now?
If the NFL calls pass interference on the first game of the first year, right off the bat, why isn't that same call not made in the Super Bowl? If it's a penalty today, why isn't it a penalty tomorrow? And I talked to Elton about it a long time, like other people did. And Elton says the drivers all, to a man, wanted that rule in place. You can't ride the wall. You can't do it. Now, when Chastain did it, it was completely legal. People loved it and made a big deal of it. But the drivers in the off season 2 years ago said, we can't have this. So NASCAR told everybody, not only in the rule book, but in driver meetings and all, you can't ride the wall. Don't forget that. And he clearly did. He might not have intended to. Chastain may have been the one that started all this deal. And Bell may not have wanted to get up into it, but once he got there, he didn't do much to get away from it. So I don't, I may be in the great majority of people who think that the penalty that was imposed, they almost put you to the rear of the lead lap cars in any kind of a penalty like that. And it moved him from 18th to 22nd. And just because that helped a Chevrolet guy get into the final race, I don't know that NASCAR gives a crap who's in the finals, and I don't know. But what worries me is that people get online. Dale Jr. was bitching about it yesterday. Dale Jr. must have forgotten back in the day when Richard Childress would bring at least two cars, late in the year to protect Dale Earnhardt's father.
Yep.
To be another, to give him, so he would not finish last maybe or whatever. And I'm sure Dale Jr. has forgotten that Michael Waltrip never tried to pass him on the last lap at Daytona the year that he won the 400. You know, and he wasn't blocking, but Mikey just didn't try to pass him. So don't tell me that this stuff is all new and never been done before. Nothing is new. Everything's been done by somebody at some point in time. So that's my rant, and I'm sticking with it.
Wholeheartedly agree. It's what we were talking about just before you come in, that you could, they showed in-car video from Bubba Wallace's car, who he dropped down in front of when he hit the wall. And you could literally hear the engine rev up as he hit the throttle, riding the wall around. And like you said, it didn't appear for a while that he made any attempt to get off the wall.
Well, he stayed on it all the way.
By the way,
Well,
yeah.
centrifugal force is going to push him up against the wall if he's
yeah.
accelerating.
Yeah.
The only thing was that he didn't start it as soon as Chastain did, and he didn't gain any spaces either.
Yes, he did. Oh, yes, he did.
He didn't pass anybody that I could tell from the cameras.
He had to in order to get the points.
Yeah, he had to because Byron was up there, and then they were tied.
But he already passed. He made the pass. Whoever he had to pass.
Okay.
Or he took off. So anyway,
Yeah, he had already done the pass before he did the melon.
right. It's a moot point. It's minor stuff at this point.
Well, if you wanna forget the wall riding, then a Toyota guy pull over and slow down for another Toyota guy. You know, that's a position. I mean, if Bubba had finished ahead of him, then there would not have been a tiebreaker. But I'm sure that every team in that racetrack Sunday knew
I'll be right back.
every possible point scenario. Everybody knew that if you finish here, you're tied. If you finish a spot behind him, you're not going to make the playoffs or whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody knew, and I think Bubba probably was told. He had nothing to lose. He had nothing to gain. Well, just pull over and let your teammate or your grandmate go, and so.
Now,
That doesn't bother me as much, a little bit, as the two Chevrolet guys running side by side for lap after lap after lap.
Yeah.
I'm sure if Keselowski had been, if two Fords had run interference for Keselowski in the last 10 laps at Martinsville, he would have not said anything about it. He would not have defended his Ford brand mates. He would have just said, "Well, I outran him." Well,
Al, last week when you and I talked, you were going to talk about what happened at the previous weekend.
I'm hearing two things at once.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was saying last week when I was talking with you and we were talking about you coming out this week, we were going to talk about the previous week's race. And now all this stuff happened at Martinsville.
I'm sorry.
He said we thought we were going to be talking about the race before Martinsville. You wanted to say something about the race before Martinsville?
Yeah, I think, are you talking about Miami?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Reddick, that's a move for the ages. When Reddick passed those two guys on the outside coming for the checker, you don't see that very often. That's one of the classic winning moves I've ever seen. in Chastain in Martinsville 2 years ago, the last lap was a memorable moment. But Reddick was in anyway. He was gonna advance anyway, so.
What surprised me about the pass he made though, cause to me, as I watched the race, to me, he looked like Blaney pulled down out of the way and gave him the high side. Now, whether he had no choice to do that or what the case might have been.
Well, that's a Toyota versus a Ford. I don't know that Blaney would have given him anything.
It surprised me too. That's why I couldn't believe the move.
And,
Um,
I mean, I don't know what line Blaney was running the 10 laps before that. He might have been down a little bit. I don't know.
yeah,
But I've told people this all day, and I don't want to belabor the point. If a call is made at Daytona in February, that affects the outcome, why is it that same call made in November at Martinsville? If it affects the outcome,
yeah.
so.
Yep.
You know, when you
Like I
think.
said, this is stuff that
Or disqualified a Chevrolet at Charlotte to let a Ford guy get in. Everybody can.
this is stuff that
So,
been going on like you said, Alan, and I mentioned something before you got with us that they've been doing this at Daytona Talladega. They had a meeting a few years ago, right when that new it had me, I think it was Daytona, and the new Corvette came out, and Jeff Gordon was at the meeting. It three OEMs had meetings right there, and everybody knew they were having a meeting at one of the conference rooms or whatever they had, in the infield. And somebody asked Jeff Gordon, said, what did you guys talk about at Chevrolet meeting? He said, we're talking about the new Corvette. And everybody knew that was a bunch of jazz, and they were talking about what they were going to do as far as trying to help each other out, when they're going to pit together, and all the rest of the stuff. They've been doing it for several years at Daytona and Talladega. And so it's the playoff stuff that NASCAR started a few years ago. It's just spread that out to the point where we're doing this kind of business, teaming up and blocking people and all this kind of business at Martinsville, for crying out loud.
NASCAR took a lot of heat Monday. It took a lot of heat for not immediately announcing penalties for collusion, for manipulations of the finish and all. I talked to Elton Sawyer a long time, and he said, we go back on Mondays and we review everything. In-car cameras, data, everything we can possibly get all day Monday. Tuesday, we make our decisions. We don't rush into anything. And NASCAR wants it to be released at 5 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon. Used to be because NASCAR Live was on Tuesday night, and they got all the breaking news. I don't know that they had any option but to take all the time they could to decide that the two Chevrolet cars had blocked for their other guy, and that Bubba had pulled down and let Bell go. The people, young people, none of us is that category. People forget that at Richmond in 2013, they had a humongous race fixing scandal.
Michael Waltrip.
Michael Waltrip and Clint Boyer and Ryan Newman and all those people. That basically shut down Michael Waltrip the year after that. He was pretty much done. But this is not the first time that drivers and teams have worked together to help each other. And I wrote something for Autoweek yesterday saying that now that NASCAR has figured out the blocking rule, how they're going to figure out the helping the teammate rule.
Well, I'm going to throw something out there. What about, do you think any of this has anything to do with the bullshit with the charters?
With the what?
With the charter.
Oh, with the charter?
The charters? Yeah, I'm wondering if NASCAR's, really digging deep into these, radio communications and stuff like that, just waiting to pounce on something because it's going to be said or overheard about the charters, or try to get these guys back that haven't signed the charters. Because I seen something on the charters here that the teams and drivers, if they don't sign the charter, the team or the driver can just walk at any time. I read that today. Have you guys, and it could even be the championship driver.
I didn't see a comment like that in anything I saw today.
So well, I wrote it down because I was like, this is interesting. This is if there's no charter sign, teams and drivers can quit and leave, even if they're a champion driver, that they can just walk away if they don't have a charter sign. So
Be from NASCAR or the team?
That would have to be part of the team contract, not something to do with NASCAR.
I don't know. It said it was under an article that came out about the charter today, and it was on J-Ski.
No,
I don't know.
The things that happen, I don't think NASCAR picked on. You know, the bell in the wall, the blocking in the back, yeah, that was all, I mean, that was something that was construed and done by the teams for that particular race. I don't think NASCAR had any intention of picking on those particular teams. And for something, I made a comment to a friend of mine today, it was done so blatantly, they didn't have any choice but to make a ruling on it.
Exactly.
The whole world went nuts when everybody saw it, especially with the wall and everything else as well too. So
And then we all knew that there was a rule made that they weren't supposed to do that. But what I'm thinking is with this disagreement with the charter going on, that they might be eyeballing those teams a little bit more than the others now.
that could be, but I would like to think that they're smart enough to know that people are going to think that, and they'll probably stay away from that as much as they can. If they break the rule, then they've got every right in the world to go after.
Yeah, but you had the 3 cars, as RCR was involved in that little Chevrolet 2-step going around the last few laps side by side with each other. So you might have had, you know, a Trackhouse car there, but you had an RCR car involved there. Chevrolet.
What do you think the chances are that the drivers might go behind NASCAR's back and say, hey, let's let Tyler Reddick win the championship just to throw something in the NASCAR's face?
No.
You wouldn't do that if you were a driver for a manufacturer whose team was not, going to win the championship. I don't think a Ford driver would take a dive to help a Chevrolet driver. And I don't think a Toyota driver would take a dive to help a Ford driver. So,
You would
I
think.
really want to see William Byron come down and just take it and be like, give everybody the big FU. That's what I want to see. Just like Kyle Larson did when he came back and won that championship. So
it's a shame that the circuit's most successful driver, 6 wins, more top 5s than anybody, more top 10s than anybody, more laps led than anybody. It's a shame that driver is not a candidate to be the champion.
exactly. I totally agree.
I'm going to write in the next week or so suggesting a point system in which if you're that good, you win the championship.
Yeah.
You don't have.
Well, that's the whole thing with this playoff business. So they're trying to make it like football or baseball.
Right.
Well, if you had a record just as good as you're talking about, one of these football teams, and they're talking about a few of them right now because it's a big season going on, they'd be, ranked number 1 or number 2, whatever kind of ranking you want to put it, however you want to do it, and you expect them to be going for a championship at the end of the season. And you've got somebody, like you said, that's been most consistently, successful driver in team this year, and nothing. I mean, it's not the old Mark Martin deal when they got killed for one race and then they didn't do anything else the rest of the year, didn't win it. Al likes to talk about that one, but
Well, that's what's so wrong about this. You can be like one of the final 4s or top 16 or whatever and only win one race and then get in there and win a championship, win in one race like what he said, and then have somebody else win 5 races and not even be a chance to get to be a champion.
Right.
I hate this format. I really do. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Well, the first year they did it, Newman almost could have been a champion without winning a race at all.
Yeah.
He was in the last 4 group, and you don't have to win it the last race. You just got to finish in front of everybody else, and it looked like it's going to do that for a while. NASCAR had never had a national champion on the top series that hadn't won a race. They got one that was only won one time back in the early days, but
yeah, I don't know
You
who thought
mentioned
this
the
dumb
charter
shit
deal.
up, but damn.
You mentioned the charter deal and the lawsuit part of that. I was at Charlotte 3 weeks ago and I walked through the campground and I walked through the concession lines. And I asked just the regular fan, the guy who had paid his money to come in that day, what he thought of the lawsuit. I only found one person that I talked to that day at Charlotte. One person was concerned about the lawsuit, and she was concerned only because her husband is on her team. And she said the lawsuit, win or lose, will not affect the driver, the crew chief, the owner. It'll affect my husband, the mechanic, the machinist, whatever. I could not find anybody that was gonna lose any sleep over, one billionaire suing another billionaire.
Yeah.
For more millions of dollars. They don't.
Yep. And the lawyers on both sides were involved in stuff like that in football and baseball.
The people that I talked to said, the only thing that would disturb us, and there was a whole bunch of them in the campground area. The only thing that would disturb us would be if the lawsuit forced the teams to race differently. If the on-track product changed, then we would agree that the lawsuit was important. If nothing happens, if 38 cars show up at Daytona next year or 40, whatever, we don't care who wins the lawsuit. Doesn't affect us any, so.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and I'll shut up after this, believe it or not. That lawsuit basically is a labor management contract. All right, those teams got that charter agreement handed to them in February at Daytona. They wrangled about it for a couple of months and this and that and this and that. Teams, it's an absolute fallacy. The teams got that charter at 6 o'clock on the day of that had to be signed. That was when NASCAR wanted to get it, but they had it for 4 months. And they could have signed or not signed anytime they wanted to. So don't tell me that, well, they gave it to us at 7:30, take it or leave it. That's not true. Just like everybody says that Phoenix is a winner take all race, but we know that's not true too. So anyway.
Question to you, Al, is when they were given the final edition and said, okay, you need to sign it in 6 hours. Now, were they asking for them to change it for them? And they were hoping maybe they would change it, and the product they got delivered, they were hoping with some changes and they weren't?
I was told by a team owner, the team we all know and love, that they had from February until whenever it was to make changes, to question it. And NASCAR actually changed the charters agreements 2 or 3 times at the will of the owners. But once it was finalized, the owners could have signed anytime they wanted to. You telling me that Joe Gibbs and Rick Hendrick and Jack Roush and all those people don't tell me they signed it out of duress. They had a whole 6 months to sign it. And I don't understand what the front row guy, I don't understand what Bob Jenkins is trying to do. Hamlin and Jordan are big time, big names. They carry a lot of weight. Bob Jenkins in front row, I'm not sure. Unless he just wants to tag along, hoping that what Jordan and Hamlin get, he will also get.
Some of it.
Be on their coattails.
I just don't understand his position.
I don't know, some of the stuff, it seems like me, they're trying to get some fact finding to see how much the teams are actually really getting screwed out of the profits from all this stuff, and if NASCAR is taking a bigger chunk than what everybody thinks.
I mean, NASCAR is taking most of the risk too. I mean, the teams, nobody, it's just like any professional sports franchise team. If you don't like the league you're in, you can fold up and go home. Or you can go run ARCA, you can run whatever. I think most of the owners realize that they'll get a little bit more each year, this 7-year contract. They may not get as much as they'd like, but when they sign it, that's a contract. They know what they're getting. And I just don't understand. I've never liked people that signed a contract in good faith and then backed out of it. It doesn't sit well with me.
You ever think it's a take it or leave it type thing?
They have 5, 6 months to take it or leave it, or 7 months. Yeah, I mean, that once management says, okay, this is the deal. And if you're an employee and you don't like it, then you just leave. I mean, I don't understand. Joe Gibbs thought it was good enough. Jack Rouse, Rick Hendrick, Childress claimed that he only got it late, but somebody on our team told me he made it late. He didn't have to make it late.
So didn't they say something about cutting it back though too, from 38 cars to 36 cars or something, and more people would have to race their way in or something?
That's if the lawsuit continues on the next year.
Yeah, they were talking about reducing it to 32 cars, having a charter.
Is it 32? So
Well-
I mean, even without a charter, they can still race. They just have to race their way in, and they're not eligible for points and stuff, right? Isn't that?
Well, I think they're eligible for points, but the money they get is different.
They don't get as much TV money.
Gotcha.
Well, and that's the whole premise. They were saying that the charter, well, that's what they were looking for the injunction for. They want the court to say, to force NASCAR to let them race equal to the charter teams, even though they've not signed one yet. They want to get the money, the percentages, everything else, though they've not signed for it. And, I think NASCAR's, on point by saying that they had a chance to get that money by signing it. And you're the one that refused to sign it, so you knew the risk you were taking when you didn't sign it, that in order to race, you'd have to get in here and race your way in as a non-charter team, which means they're gonna get less money. They're trying to claim that all the money they've invested in their product, so they say, is affected by the whole thing.
Somebody told me the other day, he said, if you drive down Interstate 77 in Charlotte and you see the 2311 shop,
Yes.
you'll suddenly say, they're not lacking for anything. Those things
No.
it looks like the Taj Mahal on steroids.
The rich want to get richer, okay?
Did they buy Robbie Gordon's old place?
No, they got a brand new one.
It's totally brand new.
Ground up.
Okay.
They went from the ground up. But
They call it airspeed or something like that. The windows are angled at 23 degrees. It's the craziest thing ever.
I should have went by there when I was in Charlotte a couple weeks ago, but I didn't. I was at the race too, Al. But I mean, I don't know who took over Robbie's shop, but I heard he just sold it too not too long ago. And you can see it from I-77. When he said that, that's the first thing that popped into my head.
The,
It was Robbie Gordon's old place. Maybe he's still there. I don't know.
Denny Hamlin started out racing mini stocks at Langley, didn't have a
Pot to piss in, yeah.
well, then,
And now, see, Denny, in my mind, Denny is trying to be the voice of NASCAR that Jeff Burton used to be. And I think Jeff Burton was respected in the garage and in NASCAR corporate far more than Denny is.
almost assuredly.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Burton did not bitch and moan about everything.
No.
And I saw a little clip today of Denny saying that I have never ever in my life been told by a manufacturer what to do or how to drive or whatever. I was thinking, I just don't know if I believe that.
No.
At some point, either Chevrolet or Toyota or somebody has suggested, you might
want to do this.
You push when you were on drafting tracks, you push the manufacturer that helps you the most. You don't necessarily pick the car that you want to win. You pick the car that can help you do best. So I think everybody complaining about drafting and blocking and all, it goes back 75 years.
I'm waiting for Denny Hamlin's canary mouth to override his alligator ass, though. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Question, Al. Now, with everybody sitting there, one of the biggest things I heard or thought I heard was that the fact that NASCAR is limiting how bad they can talk about stuff. I mean, if they don't like something, they can't say anything about it. It'd be basically keeping them from talking about things that they may not feel is copacetic for them.
Every night or every other night, some NBA player is fined $10,000 publicly for bitching about officiating. You can look it up. I mean, coaches get fined, players get fined for saying how bad the officiating was. And basically you can criticize the call, but you can't call into question the integrity of the man who makes the call. And I'm sure NASCAR would like their teams and drivers and owners not to publicly display all their dirty laundry, but you know, if you do, it's gonna cost you. You know, everybody says, well, they got free speech. No, free speech only includes government people. Free speech among the civilians is fine. You can say whatever you want.
I can't get to the access to internet right now, but there's, one of the big football players that recently retired is now broadcasting on TV, talking on TV, did something just exactly the same way. He made a comment or something about,
Talking about Tom Brady?
yeah, I think it was Tom, that recent story, but they decided not to punish him for whatever it was he said. I've not read anything about it, but it says exactly what you're talking about, that you can say what you want to, just don't slam dunk the officials and people that are making the work on it.
If you're in baseball, you could go kick sand on the umpire or something.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't Brady
Yeah.
buy a piece of one of the teams and therefore they put a bunch of restrictions on him, but now suddenly he's Jeff Gordon,
Hey, Al,
essentially?
Andre's got a question for you.
Oh, yeah, you see that.
What do
Okay.
you think of Stuart Haas telling their teams you'll not be allowed on the property after this weekend?
Not giving them much time to clear out, is it?
That team.
Was that the team or is that the
Um,
people they're leasing it
months
from?
ago,
Oh, yeah. But, yeah,
I'm
they've
talking about Stuart Haas.
Yeah.
Didn't they announce months and months and months
Yes.
ago?
they were shutting down.
Well, I know they were shutting down, but I mean, you got this weekend. We got a race planned for. Oh, by the way, after the race, don't bring your ass back to the shop. You're not going to be allowed in.
Like one of the
I hope
one
I
of the
don't
crew,
leave my favorite coffee cup there.
one of those crew chiefs had a picture showing his screen on
Yep.
his computer on his desk, and he said, "I won't see this again after I get on the truck to go to wherever." You know?
Phoenix. Go to Phoenix.
Like, aren't there cars in the parking lot or something though? Damn.
It's not
Little
unusual.
harsh.
There's somebody else on the property that they're on.
No, I think Haas is gonna keep it for his one cup car and his two Xfinity cars.
But Haas Factory Racing or some jazz or
So it's
something
the
like that.
Stewart side that they're kicking off the property, is that what you're saying? I didn't understand the piece of it,
Basically, the race teams after this weekend, they're not allowed back on the property. Period. I mean, hopefully you don't park your car to get on a bus to go to the company plane to go to the track, or maybe you need a waiver to come back on the property and get your car. I don't know.
You think Tony's gonna use that place maybe for drag racing?
I agree with that or believe it even.
Motion detected at the back door.
I see cat back there probably.
I'd love to hear the team owner's version of that
Yeah,
accusation.
You got Tony's number? Call him. Send him an email.
Maybe he's gonna put a drag cars in there or something, his drag strip cars. Who knows?
Tony's got plenty of property for that kind of stuff.
He's already got a shop somewhere out in Midwest where I imagine because NHRA is more out that way. I mean, it's country, it's all over, but you know.
Now, I've been to the drag races and seen how much crap he brings to the drag race. I guarantee he's got property somewhere.
Well, you can put it at his house. Got acres and acres out there.
What are we talking
See,
about?
How
he
many
has
stores?
like a 40 or 50-acre farm in Indiana or
You
something.
can never miss a meal.
No.
It
Did
doesn't look
Tony
like he
Stewart
has
sell?
either. Hold on, what are we talking about, David?
I know.
Did Tony Stewart ever sell that house that looked like a Bass Pro Shop that he was living in?
I don't know if is that the one that was in Indiana?
Don't tell me he's.
Yeah.
Struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not a very good team, but he's got
Yeah.
a team. So.
they've been doing a little bit better. They've been at least staying out of the bottom 20 to 22nd place.
Oh, Stewart was like in the top half of the field for the last drag fuel car.
No. We're talking Formula One.
Oh, Formula One. Yeah, Haas was doing really well. Yeah.
They've been getting up further and further up the ladder there.
And Haas is going to have some help from Toyota next year. I don't know exactly how that works because they're getting their power plant from Ferrari, and Dallara has been making their chassis. That's all within the rules now. It's not they're not like they're tweaking the rules or anything. And there's a lot of rules. And I'm reading a book about and that Newley, I think, wrote his book about how to build a race car. He said, "Man, they got rules on rules on rules on rules." But Toyota's going to be doing stuff that's help Haas out. So I expect that Haas to get up closer. I didn't see that Formula One race. I wish I had. It was a mess. It rained. The two Alpine cars that usually are 18th or 19th or 16th or 17th out of 20. I finished second and third. And Max Verstappen started 17th and won the darn thing, and it was raining. I mean, it was. Whew.
Question now, another one for you. Have you talked with any of the teams or owners what they think about the sole source type thing for all the NASCAR Cup Series cars?
Sole source for cars and parts in the Cup Series.
A friend of mine the other day said that they have homogenized NASCAR such that people don't have any, no longer do they have any wiggle room.
No,
The box that they're in,
Right.
once they get
Yeah.
the chassis, there's absolutely no room for creativity.
Right.
Because Smokey Unit would have quit 15 years ago.
Exactly who I was thinking about.
If it had gotten to the point where you couldn't, Leonard Wood Brothers Shop Saturday in Stewart. Leonard Wood was working on stuff, just tinkering with stuff, just messing around with
just
stuff
like him, yeah.
that he said they would never ever allow. The year that Tiny Lund won the 500 for them, Leonard had built for them shock brackets that nobody else had. And it basically gave Tiny Lund more rubber on the racetrack traction than other cars. And Tiny Lund won that race. I'm sure Duane remembers. Tiny Lund won that race at Daytona without a pit stop. Without a tire change.
Yep.
Stop for gas, but no tires. And
Jeez.
Leonard Wood said, it's because that I built something in my shop. It wasn't at the shop they're at now, but he said, I built something for our car that nobody else had. And it was a huge factor in us winning. He said nowadays, he looked around at his beautiful shop they've got. He said nowadays you can't do anything.
No R&D.
You go pick up the body, pick up the chassis, pick up the sheet metal, they tell you where to put it. And he said there's no creativity.
Yeah, because-
It's all homogenized.
Yeah, because all the parts are sold single source.
Yep.
You can't,
That's the reason I call it a one-to-one scale model car. You buy a box, the parts are in there, you bolt them together, and then you put they don't spray paint them anymore. They got a decal, a big gigantic decal goes on the thing. And plug the driver in there, so go out and do what he can do. But Al, I thought it was the Firestone tires that did that, but you're telling me that Leonard Wood did it was brackets.
we had Leonard Wood, we had on a show one night a few years back. And the big comment that several of us had made is half of NASCAR rule books is because of stuff that he did and wrote.
Oh, yeah. And he will never make the Hall of Fame.
Every time he come up with something that would make a race car go better, they would make a
Yeah.
rule.
You talking about Smokey or you talking about Leonard?
Smokey.
Well, I'm talking
Smokey.
about Leonard, but
Leonard will make the Hall of Fame.
They belong
Oh.
together.
Yeah. But Smokey fought with Big Bill a lot. He pushed in things to the limit. Smokey used to say that, half the rule book is stuff I did. And he always interpreted the rule book as it says, it doesn't say I can't do it, I can. And the rule book makers have always had the attitude, I don't care what association you're with, that unless we say you can do it in our book, in print, you can't. And he's going, no, that's not how it works. It's just the opposite.
If it ain't there saying I can't, then I can.
Right. Doesn't say you can't do this.
I talked to Smokey's daughter in Daytona about 10 years ago for a story. And she agreed. She said, my daddy will never make the Hall of Fame. He won't even be nominated. And I said, did he just tick off NASCAR one time too many? She said, no, he ticked them off once, and that was enough. She said,
Yeah.
back then, if you showed them up that significantly, one time, you were
That was enough.
persona non grata. And everybody said that as long as Big Bill France was alive and then Bill Jr. was alive, he'd never make it. And when Jim France dies, maybe somebody will at
Let-
least
Put him in.
give Smokey, well, nominate him.
Al, you need to nominate him.
I'm not on the nominate, I'm on the selection committee, but not the nominating committee.
Ah. Hey, how is Leonard doing anyway? We haven't had him on for a while.
How's who doing?
How'd Leonard do it? Leonard Wood.
I saw him Saturday. He seemed fine. He's great. I mean, he's older than I am, believe it or not, which is really old. But he, he gets around. He goes to some races, not a lot. He's sort of like the grand old man of the garage area now. Bud Moore.
What's amazing is that man is like legal pad sketching out stuff and making half scale models of engines they ran back in the 60s. His
Mhm.
machinist is a brilliant man, and he's not drawing any kind of fancy architectural structural drawings like I did on a desk or anything like that, or certainly nothing on a computer. And he built a half scale, the carburetor, the whole thing. I mean, it's just what video I've seen of it on YouTube and stuff. It's just amazing.
He is building a little sort of a kind of a race looking go-kart for Eddie Wood's great granddaughter. She's about 5 or 6 years old. And Leonard's building her first car. So,
Wow.
nothing else to do. You can't. I mean, the Wood Brothers shop in Stewart, which is now a museum, nothing happens there that goes to their car in Mooresville. Maybe advice, Leonard might say some things, but Leonard says that everything that comes out of our car in Mooresville is out of Penske's people, not ours. So,
Yeah.
Might as well do like some of the other teams have, turn your shop into a custom auto place, build stuff.
There you go.
Well,
So-
Petty did that with his stuff in Randleman area, right?
What's their
Eddie
names
Wood.
down on 81? That's what they did with theirs when they stopped racing.
Petty Garage.
oh, one more thing, and I will shut up after this. NASCAR finally did, and I wrote this for all the week 10 days ago. They finally did the right thing with Bobby Allison.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Finally gave him that 85th victory. And at Martinsville Sunday, I went and talked. There were only 4 other drivers, or 3 of them. There were only 3 other drivers in that race 53 years ago that I have found to still be alive. Bobby Allison, one of them.
Yep.
Richard's another one. Richard Childress was in that race, and Dave Marcus.
Yes. Yep.
Dave Marcus was at Martinsville. I had no idea he'd be there.
Huh.
So I saw him, he knew me, we talked a while. I said, Dave, do you remember the night of that Bowman Gray race? Was there ever any discussion in the driver's meeting or the entry blank or whatever that a Grand American winner would not be recognized? Now, the start of that race would be part of his career. If he finished top 5, that would be part of his career record. If he won top 10, that'd be part of his career. But he said, and I said, the win was never listed. And he said, absolutely, we were never told that. And later that day, I went up in the hall and talked to Richard Childress, who said the same thing.
Wow.
Richard said, I was in that race, it was one of the first races I ever ran. He said, I was in a Grand American car. He said, it never occurred to anybody that if a Grand American car won, it wouldn't count. And Bobby, of course, was in a Mustang. I could not get with Richard Petty Sunday, but I'm going to ask him soon. And Jim France told me, Mike Helton told me earlier that day, this was the only race we ever had. We had one race more than we had race winners.
Okay.
If you add up everybody's career victories, yeah, okay, that would be one fewer than the number of races we ran. And he said, we just couldn't have that. And I asked him, I said, well, Mike, took y'all 53 years to get it right.
Yeah.
Why?
It's in this book. It printed at the end of the season.
Yeah, I know. Why suddenly now?
And then a couple years later,
Connie Lund won 2 races that year in a Camaro,
right?
American Camaro,
Mhm.
and it was immediately on his career record.
Right.
Bobby's was not until recently.
Yeah.
And that is Tiny Lund's artwork right there as being the Grand American champion that year. But he won, like Al said, he won a couple of those combo races, what I call them. And that's where his Grand National wins come from. I don't think he ever got a Grand National win in a legit Grand National car. I don't think.
Well, he won Daytona with Wood Brothers.
Oh, yes.
He won 2 other cup races. But anyway.
Yeah.
When I asked Mike Helton, I said, why did y'all suddenly decide to do it now? He said, well, with, next year's Clash will be at Bowman Gray, and this could be a big deal, and we kind of thought that would be a nice thing to do. And later on, I told a colleague of mine, I said, hardly anybody in today's media has ever been to Bowman Gray.
Right.
None of these TV people,
Right.
any of the writers have never seen the place, don't know a thing about it. But as the Clash gets closer next year, they're going to begin to look at that racetrack's history.
Right.
There's somebody with a big time publication like the New York Times or the Charlotte Observer or the Winston-Salem Journal are going to say, wait a minute, here's a guy who won a race and never got credit for it. And I just told the people, I said, I think NASCAR is getting out in front of that.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
When everybody complains about it, say, well, we made that right with Bobby. We made it right. Well, it took you 53 years.
When I read the article, I said the same thing. It took 53 years to make it right.
Right.
And he's a stellar person, and they'll all agree to that. He's a
The only explanation I got was somebody said that Bobby's Mustang win was the first one in a combined race. Tony Lund won later in the year. And they said that Tiny's wins were more fresh in their mind at the end of the season when they were compiling the record book. And Bobby was back in August or something like that. So anyway,
It's in this book.
I've got the book. I've read it. I'm gonna help write it.
Oh, we did.
Andre wants to know, who do you think's going to be on the appeal panel this week?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who's gonna be on the appeal panel this week? Appeal for what?
Oh, they won't, you mean for what?
For Martinsville.
Oh, for Martinsville. Then nobody's gonna be appealing. They
No.
2311.
But they backed out of it. They backed out of the appeal.
Yeah, they backed out.
Well, they weren't even giving up. Elton told us in the media center Sunday night that a race safety violation is not
Not
appealable.
appealable.
And apparently Joe Gibbs asked that question. I mean, NASCAR had Gibbs come in and all his people, Christopher Bell came in, the crew chief came in, and at the end of the discussion, Joe Gibbs said, well, what can I do about this? And either Helton or Elton or Jim France or whomever said, nothing, it's decided. You cannot, this is one thing you cannot appeal. So don't even.
They got a lot of fines and a lot of money, that's for sure.
The fines.
$100,000 and 50
Well,
driver points, 50
he's
owner
talking about
points.
Bell. He's talking about Christopher Bell's wall ride.
Oh, I don't know well, that was a
Well,
safety.
a whole bunch of people got canned on that, got hit one way or the other, money wise and points wise. There was 2 or 3 teams and crew
Well,
chiefs and everybody else.
But not for Christopher Bell's wall ride. The only thing they
No,
got,
that was for that race chatter crap.
well, that was for the
Yeah.
3
They let 1 car and a 3 car.
In the
And
23.
23 got a hairy eyeball. I don't know if they got nailed or not, but they
Oh yeah, they did too.
but yeah, they're gonna have a really good Christmas party at Daytona Beach or wherever they have their Christmas parties this year.
I was surprised at not only the level of severity that they went, but how far up the chain of command that they went.
Oh, they took the big time. They took the crew chiefs, the spotter, and the team executive, whatever that means.
Yeah, they went on up
Yeah.
the team.
I saw that thing from Elton Sawyer was saying that they had gone to, after all this stuff, I guess, after the wall incident a couple years ago, they decided it was a safety issue, and they were going to go up and really take a bite out of somebody when they did it. And they were going to hit. They weren't just going to hit the people at the track. They were going to hit somebody above that. They're going to move up the chain of command, as I would say, because I was in the military, and that's what they did.
$100,000 is a big enough hit as it is.
But did Bell, I didn't see Bell's team getting fined for that.
I don't know.
I
I
thought,
think,
I thought the fine and the penalties and the removing from the race, next week's race was on just the three cars of Wallace, Chastain and
Dylan.
But there also was during the announcement of all these stuff that
You had a safety
Xfinity had a
violation.
scuffle. Xfinity race had a scuffle, and the truck race had a scuffle as well.
they added up in the package, yeah.
When
That got almost no play because of all this stuff.
Right there.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Well, they've had to look hard and long, I guess, for a crew chief for Bubba Wallace.
Mhm.
They just, yeah, and they made another, they had to find him another spotter as well, too. It'll be
They're
interesting.
using Christopher Bell's, aren't they? Or
Chastain,
All
Dylan,
three crew chiefs, all three.
Chastain, Dylan, and Bubba were the only drivers that were hit.
Yeah, it was three crew chiefs,
Their
spotters,
crew
three
chief.
spotters,
and
Yeah.
three team.
and three team
Executives,
executives, I
yeah.
think they went up to.
Yeah.
Sharon
Right.
Boswell there.
Hey, Al, if I get up with Leonard and get him back on the show again, you want to be here when we do?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. But I wouldn't, you might wait till after this weekend, well.
But yeah, wouldn't have.
Yeah.
So I mean, granted, I have a good enough rapport with him. I've always been able to say, hey, you want to join us? He goes, sure. He hardly ever asks when, he just says, sure.
Yeah, although one thing is that you've talked to him one thing last time before, so he said you were going to set him up with video conferencing capabilities, and like we're using now, and he wasn't too interested in that. So I don't know how it's going to work. But
He's good with the old tech, just not the new tech.
yeah,
Let me say one more thing before I shut up real home. People who complain about the 16 driver, 10 race, 4-round playoff series, they have no clue how much more exciting this is than the old way when the champion was strictly won by points over 30 some races. And with 2 races to go, Earnhardt may only need to start the last race to clinch it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, I don't understand people that don't want to have excitement up until literally the last lap of the last race.
I think my only complaint about some of the changes, the stages, and I don't have a problem with the stages. It's actually throwing a caution flag for stage.
It's a TV deal.
Was it? Right.
Yeah. TV wanted to break. And I tell people, what's the difference in a stage break in the first quarter, halftime, third quarter of a football game?
Well,
yeah.
The only reason I would say about that is we were so used to not having it for years.
Yeah.
And that's it. I just like, I don't know if it's you or someone else made a comment, what did I think about the way the NFL is doing the kickoffs this year?
Mm-hmm.
The first time I saw one, I thought, what the hell is that?
I couldn't.
That was me.
They can't build up enough speed to take and give them concussions, supposedly.
Yeah.
I think my whole thing on it, the only reason I don't like it is because somebody can win 5 races and not get in to be a championship, and somebody can win 1 race and then be a champion. It just seems like it's not fair to me in that round.
Well, Kevin
Like
Harvick had
a mulligan, have a mulligan rule or something, you know?
Kevin Harvick had that thing that was very interesting comment. He said, if you got a regular season champion, then guarantee them they're going to be in that last race. Okay. The second place person will be in the last 8. The third place person will be guaranteed in the last 12. And the fourth place will be in the last 16. So you've got winners, or some of your top people are going to be scattered through that entire process. And that's, I don't know if that's perfect or not or whatever, but certainly um, it makes it a little more appropriate. Like I said, we've got people right now, they should be the champion on the old Latford system that's not even going to be eligible.
To me, if you wanna have a final race type championship deal, make it 3 races in 3 different tracks. Go to a short track, go to a speedway, go to a road course. Best finish among the drivers on those 3, that's your champion. I don't know that.
Yeah.
You know, somebody, if Kyle Larson had made the Final Four this year with 6 wins and all those top 5 and 10s, if he had gone to Phoenix, led all day, much of the day, had a flat tire with 2 to go.
It smashes
and
the wall.
guy beats him who's won 1 race this year.
Yeah.
You know, Larson finishes 18th and this guy's the champion, and you look at their season record, it's not even comparable.
Close, yeah.
I mean, you can
Right,
sit there
exactly.
and for all intents and purposes, have a large wreck. Usually it doesn't happen at Phoenix, but you have a large wreck and you take out 3 of the 4 finalists, and the guy that was worst off in points winds up being the winner, or something like that. Simply
Yeah.
because he was.
Well, didn't they have that earlier this year where they had a whole big cluster and a bunch of the people in the
28
playoffs?
car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 28 car pilot.
There was a football team, I think it was the Patriots, 18 years ago, finished the season 12-0,
Thank you,
won
bud.
both of their play-in games to get to 14-0, and then got beat in the Super Bowl by a team that's record was not nearly that good. So here's a team that finishes 14-1, is not as good as a team that finished, I don't know, 12-4 maybe, whatever the number was. So, and like somebody said the other day, the Yankees were probably not really that bad, but the Dodgers just made them look bad.
It did.
So the best team does not always win. You know, hell, Vanderbilt beat Auburn, beat Alabama the other night.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
That was a big one for everybody.
Vanderbilt.
But what's different about that is they at least have a chance to try to win their championship, where in racing, somebody that's really outdone the rest of them, if they're thrown out, they don't even have that option.
Let's have $1 million bounty on Tyler Reddick or, something like that.
Well, I
You know what I'm
I don't
saying?
have the memory for the record that Kyle Larson had. I know Al just talked all about it. But if you stop and think, Kyle had the chance to win every race he was in like everybody else did. He could have won the particular races necessary to get into playoffs, and he didn't. I can go back to the early days at Langley Speedway when every race that the late model ran, guess who the winners were? It was one of the Edward brothers. And I always used to see people leave when I first got there, 75 laps to go, they started going home because they knew the winner was gonna be the Edward brothers. I said, how do you know something's not gonna happen to them? And sure as shit, it happened on a regular basis. Brake failure, engine problem, something else, and they wouldn't win. So you go home and you say, well, this is just gonna, you don't know. I've actually been shocked by last year how Bubba, Danny Edwards did, because he used to always be just one of the top performing racers and suddenly not. But it is kind of hard to believe when someone that had Kyle Larson's record didn't make it to the playoff.
2 things screwed Kyle Larson this year. He would not have needed to go to Phoenix and to Martinsville. He would not have been in a win position if he had not skipped the Charlotte race.
So, yep,
Give him 10, let him finish 10th at Charlotte and add those points to
what he had,
what
yep,
he had.
yep.
And then that dumbass move he made in Homestead to go from possibly top 3 to 18th or 19th. Remember he spun out
Yeah.
trying to go through a too
Yep.
narrow a hole.
He made a three wide, and he just told it being a big wreck.
If you give him the points he lost at Charlotte and the points he did not gain at Homestead, he goes to Martinsville 50 points above the line.
Yep.
Instead of 6 below.
Yep.
Maybe not 50, but 35 or so.
Something like that.
So,
It'd been a lot better off, period.
well, but at the time he did not know he wasn't going to get to run Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that was a great story trying to get there. And he certainly would not have gone in the corner at Homestead trying to make a pass that he didn't really need to make,
Mhm.
except that as he told a bunch of us, I'm a racer. There was a spot there. I could have gone from third to first in space of 300 yards.
Yeah,
I just screwed up.
screwed up, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's what he said at the end of the race.
Yeah.
Something very similar to that,
no question
that
about
he
it.
screwed it up.
He is the most, he and Cliff Daniels are the most honest.
Yeah.
Forthcoming, no BS drivers, crew chief, I think I've ever seen. Everybody else has an excuse. Denny has excuses. Kyle Busch, my God, his middle name should be excuses. And
Yeah, Kyle, I think Kyle Chastain, somebody bumped him in the rear if it wasn't this last race, it was one before. And he told him that no, he said, what he did was perfect. It was perfectly fine as far as he was concerned, how he did it. And he just bumped me to move out of the way.
I mean, the drivers are fine. If you get tapped to move you up a little bit so they can get by you, that's cool. Just don't bump me up and throw me into the wall and trash my car.
one more thing before I shut up and go home. NASCAR official I talked to for a great long time, Saturday or Sunday morning, said that Austin Dillon's moving Logano out of the way at Richmond was perfectly fine. He had no trouble with that. But when he went down
Second
and
car.
hooked Denny Hamlin into the wall right away, he said, we could not announce that night. Cause we wanted to give ourselves time to look at the video, listen to the radio chatter, all this, we wanted to get it right. And they did not announce, I think until maybe Wednesday of that week,
Yeah, that one went late.
that he was not gonna be, that win was not gonna get him into playoffs.
Although I will have to say that was a hell of a hit he hit on Logano, but being able to take Logano out and go get Hamlin was just a,
Pretty good move.
it was. And
That's-
still be able, and not wreck himself.
That's like a trick shot on the pool table.
Yeah. Getting the 8 ball to go in off the opening, huh? So what do you think Phoenix is gonna look like?
I told somebody at lunch today, a friend of mine asked the same question, who's gonna win? And I made a big production of sitting there eating my seafood burrito. So let me think about it, and I went, And finally I looked up after that and said, I got no clue.
What was that?
I
Was
don't
it
think, everybody
hold it.
can say,
yesterday? That would have been Marty then. Aren't you usually going out to lunch with him?
no, it wasn't him. Everybody thinks that Logano being a two-time champion and Blaney being the defending champion gives him a leg up. Blaney's never won at Phoenix, but Byron has. Reddick's only been there half a dozen times, so he doesn't have a very good record. Logano's won there a bunch of times. But I told this friend of mine, I said, it's like the financial advisors tell you. Present day success does not automatically transfer to future success.
Right.
The fact that Logano's won 3 times in Phoenix, it won't mean diddly squat come Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday, no.
It's all, you start fresh every time.
All it takes is getting a flat tire, hitting the wall, and you're done for the day.
The only advantage he would have and Blaney would have is that they know how to win championships. They know how to win them at Phoenix. And if that means anything, probably not. But they
No.
have got a leg up on the other two guys.
Yeah.
So, but Byron's won at Phoenix. But
What, baby?
Do you-
Alright.
Do you think somebody other than one of the final 4 is going to win?
well, sure, absolutely. Kyle Larson could win easily.
Oh yeah.
Alex Bowman can win, not easily, but can win easily. Chase Elliott, for crying out loud, based on what he did at Martinsville, Chase could win that race easily. The champion might finish 20th, but the other guys finish 23rd, 4th, and 5th. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would think, I would
like
almost bet you
I don't like that.
that a non-playoff driver wins because they'll be willing to take more chances and do more things
Than these 4.
than the other 4. The other 4 are just they're only racing each other.
Each other, that's it.
All they care about, the other three guys.
being in front
Well,
of each other.
with that question I threw at you, it's about that time of the night when we go, who's going to win the next race? And we're going to throw a second in there and say who's going to win the championship.
Hmm.
Al, you're our guest tonight. You go ahead.
I think a non-playoff driver will win the race. And
Yeah, so
Logano's
you-
record at Phoenix over the years is
I don't know what you want.
good enough to, if you gotta bet one of the four, you got a 25% chance, whatever you do.
You got a 1 in 4 chance.
It would be Logano only because he's done it before there, several times.
I don't know what you want. What do you want? You
Yeah,
get
he was
so-
gonna be my pick. I'd pick Logano to win. I mean, Logano to win out of the four. And, again, I would go with Kyle Larson to win the race.
I would go with Kyle also. Duane, you're going to have a hard time trying to pick which Ford driver.
Well, I think that Al has educated me a little bit here, and Logano certainly with more experience. I think it's going to be one of those two, and probably Logano. Although Blaney did it last weekend and did it last year, so we'll see. Who's going to win the race? That's going to be up for grabs. Like I said, it's not as blatant as when he first did it. I think NASCAR told everybody the first time they did this playoff stuff, don't get involved with the other drivers that are the last four. And everybody was pulling over the way. It looked like all student drivers on the interstate, pull over if somebody's faster. Well, nobody does that now on the interstate, but they were all pulling over, and these guys were going through like, the biblical going through the waters kind of thing. It was ridiculous.
Dwayne with 5 to go Sunday. If the leading playoff driver is running fourth and the guys chasing him are way back, is he gonna try to pass the first 3 guys to win the race?
I don't think he would.
He's gonna stay where he is.
If he thinks he can, he might, but otherwise he would.
If you got 2 or 3 to go,
A chance.
why risk it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've already mentioned that. You mentioned Larson, and Larson, although I pick him on my fantasy team as much as I can because he's he's going to be up there getting points for you, and all the rest of that. And if he goofed in a
Everybody,
race, we just talked about that. No, they're
Everybody-
all aware of it this time. Nope, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
everybody's going to be in it for the win if you're a non-factor.
People forget that when Larson won the championship 2 years ago, he made his last pit stop running 5th or 4th, maybe even. Came out leading, led the rest of the way. And Larson will always tell you that Cliff Daniels and his people earned that championship more than I did. He was not going to win the race. I don't know who was in front of him, but that team took 4 tires and gas and got him on pit road and got him out first. They led the rest of the way. So
God damn,
that
Tyler.
can happen Sunday. I mean, you just,
I don't know.
that's what I told this friend of mine. I got no clue. I don't know.
I'm going to pick.
Well, I'd have to say that the Cliff Daniels and Larson combo is as good as any we've seen in the past few decades. I think. I mean,
That's what you were trying to tell me.
and on top of it, as far as I'm concerned, both guys are likable, and like Al said, they don't give you a bunch of. It's obvious they're telling you the truth. But the other guys that we could talk about, and I'm going to mention any names, they weren't.
All right, I'm going to pick Tyler Reddick to win the championship. I'm going to pull the youngster out of all that mess. What about you, Sharon?
I'm going with William Byron. I want him to have the comeback of the century.
Who's going to win the race?
I think you guys are probably nailing it with Kyle Larson. I really do. I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. But I don't know.
He'll try to get as much, not in a vindictive way, but he'll get as much publicity as whoever wins the championship, probably.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then for Xfinity, I really hope AJ comes with a championship. I think I'd like to see AJ get it. So,
The
Yeah.
guy I was having lunch with today knows just enough about racing to be dangerous, but not much. I was tempted when he said, "Who's gonna win the race this Sunday?" I was tempted just to say, "Casgrove," just to mess with him, you know.
Oh,
But
geez.
no,
Oh, Kaz, oh my God, he's a hoot.
yeah, I think a non-playoff driver will win the race. And I think Logano will finish ahead of the other three guys for the championship.
Think they'll all be pussyfooting around the track, just trying to be safe.
You watch, I think they will try to play safe. They'll want to be up front, but I think they'll still try to play safe, instead of trying to get wrecked out.
Oh, yeah.
The only person they care about are the other three.
That's it.
They don't care about the other 36 or whatever number is.
Yep. As long as they finish ahead of the other three.
They did say they're gonna have 40 cars here this weekend, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full field. All right, anything else?
Last call.
Nope, we're good. I'll talk enough tonight.
We enjoyed it.
well, Blaney did get the 100th win for Penske, if y'all didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah, he
got the
did.
100th win for Penske, yes.
With the Ford product for Penske, by the way.
I was hoping Roger might offer me dinner, but I don't think that's gonna happen, so. I'll go home and make a sandwich.
You're more than welcome to go have something to eat with us.
By myself.
I actually ate before I came here tonight.
I should do that.
I'm on medicine. My medicine requires I do it.
Uh,
But it's been fun.
hey, we can go to Rico's and we can have fries. You gonna go out to eat with us, Al, or are you gonna go home?
Hey, Roger,
Yeah,
how many of these do you have hanging around your building?
at least a couple. Why, you need some?
Well, my laptop keyboard, it sits flat and I don't like that. I want it to be up a little bit. And I can't find anything to make it sit up.
Go ahead and take one. There's another one to David's right over there that's not curved.
I may take one before I leave. Oh, okay. So you're off the hook for dinner tonight.
That's actually fun. All right. All right.
Well, in that case, everybody have a fun time watching this weekend's races. I didn't get to talk much about our buddy Jeremy, but
I gotta work Saturday, so, but I'm off Sunday.
Well, believe it or not, I'm off Saturday and Sunday, so I'm gonna try to do my best to watch as much racing as possible this weekend.
I guess I'll go out on a limb and say, woohoo, I'm glad, so glad that Trump won the presidency. I was up all night tossing and turning, watching that damn shit go on. Finally, at 4 o'clock in the morning, they said, "Hey, he's won," and I was like, "Oh, I can sleep now." But then I still didn't sleep.
I was
so.
in bed at 10 o'clock. I didn't care who won.
I eventually got tired of watching it and said, okay, I'm gonna sleep. Chill out.
I didn't watch any of it. I was watching something on Netflix.
That's it. All right, gang.
All right, we'll catch everybody next week on Let's Talk Racing. See ya.
Cool.
Thank you, Al.
Bye, Al.
Glad to
Go
be
get
here.
some fries.